congrats on this new movie of yours. I thought it was really cool.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, man. Thank you for digging it and engaging with it. And really great to talk with you. Thanks for talking with me, man.
Yeah, of course. And I saw your little, they included a quote in the press releases, and it's sort of, I was gonna ask about, I mean, when I was watching it, I sort of agreed it seemed like a kind of a combination of a few different films genres, which, is a really cool, one of the many perks of this movie. And I was curious for you, I mean, out of the genres that you sort of employ here, is there a one in particular that's sort of your favorite that you've always find yourself gravitating toward?
I mean, the two that I like out of this movie specifically are science fiction, obviously. Very nerdy family who loves watching and digesting everything science fiction. So that pleases the heady part of their brain and my brain. And then I like the noir side of it, two people with guns going through rural America and making bad decisions for good reasons is always interesting to me, no matter what other genre you marry with it or what time era it comes from, what film era it comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are two of my favorites too. And I feel like noir is making a comeback and sort
Yeah,
of
I
a
hope so.
novel.
They're really great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it was great. And the performances are wonderful. I mean, could you talk about was it a difficult process finding these two wonderful actors to come off as such
Hmm.
authentic siblings?
It was a careful process that was spearheaded by our casting director, Chrissy Ellington, who did an amazing job, combing through the giant, acting landscape and finding not just Adam David Thompson and Riley Dandy, but putting them both to the top of their respective piles. I mean, she didn't bury the lead. She was like, Adam's my favorite Joseph, Riley's my favorite Sydney. And they also just paired well together. So we were very thankful that our first choices ended up jumping on board with the movie. And our like process to just make them feel like brother and sister just is spearheaded by my own relationship with my sister, which is just like very casual, like every word that you tell them is assumed, like you assume so much in your conversation, you already know what the other one's going to say, you can kind of get their body language. So when we did like rehearsals, if you didn't call them that, we just kind of went on Zoom in the months leading to the movie and just talked for like a long time until everyone got really comfortable with how everyone, spoke, how everyone, engaged in conversation. And then I even just let them go on the Zoom on their own for a while so they could form their own brother sister secret language. And so it was really, really nice to go on to set and have those characters really formed before I even said action or rolled the camera. So delicate process, but it went incredibly smoothly.
Awesome. Yeah, and the end result's wonderful. I have a sister myself, so a lot of course it's a very unique story, but a lot of
Oh yeah,
related.
what's your relationship with your sister, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we're close in age. She's less than a year and a half older than I am. So
Mm,
grew up close and
nice.
saw her recently, and we're both married with kids, but we stay in touch. So
That's
yeah, watching
awesome.
watching this movie, I mean, a lot of just like, the banter and whatnot and the
Oh
comic.
yeah, I think me and my sister are 22 months separated, so a little under 2 years, but yeah, like same ballpark where you're just kind of like you're pretty close to twins, but not really. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, I can't wait for, other sibling, people to see it, and I'm sure a
I
lot of people.
know that's like seems to be a big like centerpiece for a lot of people. It's just like, oh yeah, if you have any sibling, you're gonna have some sort of engagement with the movie in a really cool way.
Yeah, for sure. And in general, like what do you hope what's like the ideal viewer experience for you? I mean, do you want, viewers to be sort of forming their own hypotheses right from the get-go? Or I mean, is it okay if they're totally confused up until a certain point?
Yeah, it's kind of like, the risk you take as like a filmmaker or any filmmaker tack to the story is like you hope an audience connects with it in different ways. And for me, uh I have like a two-prong approach that people can enjoy the movie and still or can approach the movie and still like it. One is you can kind of go down the rabbit hole and start putting together everything you see, like be like locked in with what the movie's giving you and see if you can fill in like what Adam and Riley's characters don't see and kind of connect the bigger web. Kind of like what Sydney's character does in the movie when she like dives into documents and boxes of photos and stuff. Or you can enjoy the ride and be completely lost and shake your hands at the clouds in the sky at me, kind of like what Joe's character does, where he's just like, we're just all, this is all, I feel trivial and small in this movie. So both are valid and designed viewpoints for sure. I just also, if anything at all, I just hope people have fun. It's a movie that has lots of fun action and some cool character dynamics and an ending that is definitely, I hope, not boring. So, yeah, so I hope people just have a good time.
Yeah. Oh, that yeah, they definitely will. But yeah, it's always great to hear more, from the man with the plan. You're wrote writer in addition to directing. So I mean, when you're putting together this, very, I'm sure, intricate script, going back to square one, any sort of influences or inspirations, I guess in terms, in terms of the story, and then when you're putting it together as a director, I'd love to hear if certain classic movies came to mind or just filmmakers in general.
I mean, I do, I guess on the noir side, I guess more like modern-ish noir. I like the Coen brothers. I think they're just incredibly fascinating storytellers where you're just like, you're kind of locked into a character's perspective, and so a lot of the drama comes from what you see with as them versus what you can't see as them, and then you sometimes jump to other perspectives and you just see like a cat and mouse thing. Like Blood Simple is a huge inspiration in terms of just like how they crafted very small but intricate set pieces that are incredibly fun to kind of engage with.
Yeah.
um, and then I grew up with lots of sci-fi. So like, I liked Blade Runner a lot. Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. We took a lot of influence from Time Crimes and Primer in terms of
Oh
like
yeah.
closer, newer movies of the time travel space. But because I love a movie that lets you think and ponder about it, the older I get, the more I, not to say get disinterested or bored, but like I just find movies that give you everything before you leave just less engaging to me personally. There's a time and place for them, obviously. So a movie that like actually has the audience participate in filling some of the gaps, just kind of like the characters, is incredibly fun and hopefully rewarding if you do play it as much as I do.
Of course, yes. And yeah, I mean, there are movies that like Megalopolis, I think, is coming out this weekend. And
I've seen it.
oh, you have? Oh yeah, what'd you think?
It's wild, man. It's a movie that, again, I guess the older I get, the more I enjoy crazy swings and people trying things and letting an audience piece it together. And that movie is like 138 minutes long and it's 138 different filmmaking choices. It's you have to see it.
Yeah. Were you the audience member who got to ask the question to the screen?
No, but I did get to be in one of those screenings. They had like somebody run, like when it happens, they just run across the floor with a microphone stand and just do it. It's very, you're still kind of caught off guard, even though you know it's coming. So, but one day maybe they do like a midnight screening. I would love to be the participant of the Megalopolis midnight screenings.
Yeah, 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 of course. I can't wait to see it. I'm ashamed I haven't already, but
You're ashamed that you didn't get to it the day it opened already.
yeah,
How dare
right.
you?
Holding myself to a high standard.
No, yeah, I get it.
But yeah, I mean, things will be different. I mean, it's as writer director. I mean, this really seems like a passion project, dare I say. And I'm curious, looking ahead. I mean, is there anything left? Do you feel like you've exhausted that whole? I don't know what I mean, but like, I mean, do you have another sort of passion project kind of
You
in?
know,
Or do you feel like it all went into this, and you need some time to sort of recoup and
Oh yeah, no, that's a good question. I would say there's multiple answers to this. I've been writing scripts for a long time and have a lot of passion projects. Some more feasible to do on your own than others, and this is
yeah.
the first one that I was able to do with a very small crew and with money what we had. So I put a lot on the table in terms of just making like, look, I better not make a boring movie. I'm going to make something that's exciting at least at some parts with what I can. But hopefully, I not only do I have other scripts that are like that work within this type of universe, or like other passion projects that work in other universes, I have also more stories to tell in this one, and even specifically is close to more in this specific tale. Like, we kind of get left with a bunch of questions. And depending on how this movie thrives or, has people hungry for questions, I'm kind of curious to jump back into it and see what else happens or what has happened. And, time travel leaves you a lot of different directions to approach a story. So, yeah, not to say everything is the answer, but I have a lot of passion for this universe and beyond for future projects.
Of course. Yeah, I guess I meant I have no doubt you have plenty of other wonderful ideas, but I don't know, something about seeing something through to the end. You must, your whole body must just feel exhausted for
Oh yeah.
X
I
amount.
uh I've been on this movie for gosh, I guess I started casting it about 2 years ago. So, but it's kind of been like a very fast, dense 2 years, 2.5 years really. So it has been, I've given it my all and I'm still giving it my all until it's kind of just everywhere as much as it can be. So I feel drained but more fulfilled in my soul in ways that I haven't had since like my wedding day. So,
Of
it's
course.
it
Yeah,
is it is it is very fulfilling.
of course. Outside of Things Will Be Different, what would you say is your favorite time travel movie of all time?
It's funny that you phrase it that way because like I love my movie, but there's so many better time travel movies. um I gosh,
I'm
I
not saying that. I'm not.
no, I get you. I trying to think there's a bunch of like different types of time travel movies that all do different things. So like, I love the time loop movies of Groundhog Day
Yeah.
and Russian Doll, the series,
Oh yeah.
and Happy Death Day. I love the timeline movies in which you go back in the past and affect that same timeline future, like a Back to the Future of some kind. Or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, also a great one. I also love the ones that cause like ripple effects and different variations, like Primer and stuff like that. And then I also love the ones where no matter what you do, time is already predetermined, like 12 Monkeys. So, what's cool about time travel is like the rules dictate a different type of story for each movie. And so I have a lot of favorites for those reasons in the time travel genre.
Very cool. Yeah, I totally get it. I realize it's a tough question. You're right. There's so many like subgenres within time travel.
Oh yeah, I could just give you every time travel movie ever made, and at least there's some merit
Yeah.
to one of those movies for sure.
The editing style of Things Will Be Different. I thought it was
Mm.
very impressive, like high concept, like the quick cutting. And I was curious if going into, post-production or even, during production, were you ever citing like a past movie, like the way that they cut it? Because it was very impressive and it really added to the effect, the time travel, putting all the pieces together. So I was curious
Yeah.
if there
I
was
uh
a
I
model.
honestly no, I think that's a really good question. There's not enough editing questions, especially as a former editor for a long time. Uh I just kind of went with a lot of like my gut. It was a combination of directing on set and when sometimes you're directing on set, things shift in production where you have to like edit on the fly. But then I also have my co-editor, Rebecca Marquez, who just gave like a much needed second perspective for someone who's not in the weeds of time travel like lore that's in my head as the writer director. So it was really great collaborating with her for a while. I think we just kind of, I think I just got my style from editing for so long and editing with her on a few things that we kind of don't have a very specific editing style. We just go with our gut.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a dumb non-answer,
No.
but I feel like, you know what? I'll say this. I think the montage editing I was inspired by, and we were inspired by with Looper. I think Looper has there's a montage in Looper
I
where,
remember.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt becomes Bruce Willis over 30 years. And that I wrote montages like Looper wrote that montage in its script. And so we wanted to have that style of just like showing a vast amount of time or a short amount of time compressed and have, like, for example, we have two montages that are about the same length, but they do span different amounts of time in the world. And I find that incredibly fascinating and captivating with a, linear approach like that.
Of course, yes. And yeah, not every like cool choice you make has to be inspired by something else. I was just curious because yeah, it was
I mean,
all
I might be inspired and I just forgot. Like
no, no.
that's probably the real answer. Is like I'm inspired by a lot of things and I just put it into a stew and make it something slightly different.
Yeah, no, it's all good. No, that's very interesting. And yeah, like I said, I can't wait for everyone else to see it. So thank you
Yeah.
for taking the time to chat with me, and I hope we can do this on your next project.
Oh, absolutely, Will. This was a really great interview and really great form of questions. And thank you for checking out the movie. And
Oh, of
hope to
course.
talk more soon.